Here's something that made me genuinely angry last week. I went to my local grocery store, same store I've been going for 12 years, and I picked up a single red bell pepper. One pepper, not a bag, not a pack. One single bell pepper. The sticker said $2.79. I just stood there in the produce aisle holding this one pepper, staring at it. And I thought to myself, this is insane. Because 3 years ago, that same pepper was 99 cents. And it's not just peppers. In March 2026, the USDA confirmed that overall grocery prices are up again. Beef is up 15%, eggs. Well, you already know about eggs. And fresh vegetables, the stuff your doctor tells you to eat more of, are quietly becoming a luxury item. Now, I'm not here to get political. I don't care what's causing it. I only care about one thing. What can we do about it right now? Today, this week. And the answer, the real answer that most people walk right past, is sitting in your garage or at your local hardware store for $1.50. A 5-gallon bucket. Because right now, in March 2026, there are exactly 16 crops that are at peak planting time. They grow beautifully in cheap 5-gallon buckets. They require no garden, no experience, no fancy soil. And together, if you plant even half of this list today, they will save your family over $500 on groceries before this year is over. I have grown every single one of these crops myself. I'm going to tell you exactly how to grow each one, what mistakes to avoid, which tricks actually work, and how much money each one saves you at the checkout line. This is the most important gardening video I have ever made. Let's go. Before we get into the list, I need to say something that most gardening channels skip over. March is not just a good month to plant. For bucket gardeners across most of the United States, March is the month, the window, the moment. Here's why. The cool season crops, your lettuce, spinach, kale, peas, radishes, they don't just tolerate cold temperatures. They prefer them. They actually taste better, grow faster, and produce more when the air is cool and the days are still short. If you wait until summer to plant these, they bolt, they turn bitter, and they die. March is their moment to shine. At the same time, March is when you need to start your warm season crops indoors. Your tomatoes, your peppers, your zucchini, they need 6 to 10 weeks of indoor growing before they're ready to go outside. If you start them in May, you've already missed weeks of production. Start them in March, and by the time your cool season crops are winding down in June, your warm season buckets are exploding with fruit. This is called succession planting, and most beginner gardeners never learn it. But it's the difference between 1 harvest and 3 harvests per year from the same bucket. So everything on this list, all 16 crops, either gets planted outside in March or gets started indoors in March. I'll tell you which is which for every single one. Ready? Let's count them down. These 8 crops go directly outside this week. No waiting. The cooler weather is their superpower. Crop number 1, lettuce. The single easiest way to start saving money this month. Let me tell you something most people don't realize about lettuce. At your grocery store right now, a 5-ounce bag of pre-washed salad mix costs between $4 and $6. 5 ounces, that's less than a third of a pound, and it goes bad in 3 days in your fridge. You know this. You've opened that bag and found the brown soggy leaves at the bottom and just thrown the whole thing away. Now think about what you're actually paying per pound. You're paying $12 to $20 per pound for fresh lettuce. That is more expensive than a lot of cuts of beef. Here's what one 5-gallon bucket of lettuce does instead. You plant 4 to 6 loose leaf lettuce transplants or direct sow a pinch of seeds. They germinate in 7 to 10 days. In about 4 weeks, you have full, beautiful heads. But here's the trick most people miss. You don't pull the whole plant. You practice what's called cut and come again harvesting. You take the outer leaves, leave the inner ones, and the plant just keeps producing. 1 bucket of lettuce, properly managed, gives you fresh salad greens for 10 to 12 weeks straight. The best varieties for buckets: Buttercrunch, Black-Seeded Simpson, and any loose leaf mix. All of these stay compact and thrive in containers. One critical tip: lettuce has shallow roots. You don't actually need a full 5-gallon bucket for lettuce. A wide, shallow container works even better. But if buckets are what you have, fill them to 8 inches of soil, and you're set. What kills lettuce? Heat. Once daytime temperatures consistently hit 80 degrees, lettuce bolts. It sends up a flower stalk, turns bitter, and it's over. This is why you plant it now in March and enjoy it through May. In the summer, you'll plant heat-tolerant crops instead. Grocery savings estimate: $60 to $80 per season. Easily. Crop number 2, spinach. The most nutritious crop you can grow in a bucket. Period. Baby spinach at the grocery store is almost criminal right now. A 5-ounce bag of organic baby spinach runs $4.99 to $6.99. And just like lettuce, half of it turns to slime before you use it. But here's the thing about spinach that makes it even more remarkable than lettuce for bucket gardening. Spinach is cold hardy. It will survive a frost. In fact, A light frost makes spinach sweeter. The cold stress causes the plant to produce more sugar as a natural antifreeze. So while your neighbors are still waiting for safe planting weather, your spinach bucket is out there in March doing exactly what it was designed to do. One 5-gallon bucket holds 4 to 6 spinach plants comfortably. Use the same cut and come again method as lettuce. Outer leaves first, inner crown stays. Keep harvesting, and it keeps producing. The variety that wins for buckets every time. Bloomsdale Long-Standing or Baby's Leaf Hybrid. Both stay compact and produce heavily. Companion planting bonus. Spinach and radishes are best friends in the garden. They have different root depths, so they don't compete for nutrients. Plant radishes in the same bucket as spinach, and you're getting double the production from the same container. What most people don't know about spinach, it's one of the few vegetables that actually stores nutrition better when cooked. A cup of raw spinach is great. A cup of cooked spinach has 10 times the nutrition because the heat breaks down the oxalic acid and concentrates the vitamins. One bucket of spinach can provide months of cooked greens for your family. Grocery savings estimate, $50 to $70 per season. Crop number 3, kale. The crop that keeps giving long after everything else has stopped. I know. Some of you just heard kale and immediately thought about overpriced smoothies at trendy cafes. Forget all of that. I'm talking about kale as a practical, money-saving, incredibly productive bucket crop that earns its spot in any bucket garden. Here's what kale does that no other leaf vegetable does. It produces from March all the way through December in most U.S. zones. When your summer lettuce has long since bolted and died, your kale bucket is still producing. When the first frost hits in October and everything else in your garden collapses, your kale gets sweeter. It is genuinely the most season-extending crop on this entire list. One 5-gallon bucket holds 2 kale plants. Harvest the lowest outer leaves. The plant grows upward and keeps producing from the top. Do this consistently, and one kale plant gives you 1 to 2 pounds of kale per week for months. Organic kale at the store right now runs $3 to $4 per bunch, and a bunch is maybe half a pound. You do the math. Best variety for buckets, dwarf blue curled Scotch kale. It stays compact, produces densely, and handles the heat better than taller varieties. The mistake that kills kale, planting it in the shade. Kale needs at least 6 hours of direct sun to really thrive. On your balcony or porch, make sure your kale bucket gets the sunniest spot you have. Grocery savings estimate, $80 to $100 per season. Crop number 4, radishes. The beginner's confidence crop, and the fastest money you'll ever save. I am going to make a bold statement right now. If you have never grown anything in your life, radishes are the crop that will change your relationship with food forever. Because radishes go from seed to harvest in 22 to 30 days. You plant a radish seed today. In less than a month, you pull a beautiful, crisp, peppery radish out of your bucket. Is that fast? It is that reliable, and it never fails. Why does this matter beyond just the food? Because it builds confidence. Every experienced gardener I know, every single one, started with something fast and easy that gave them a win. Radishes are that win. They prove to you that you can do this, and that proof makes you plant more. Now for the practical value. A bunch of 6 to 8 radishes at the store costs $2 to $3. One 5-gallon bucket holds 15 to 20 radish seeds. You can sow 2 or 3 rounds of radishes in succession through the spring and get 3 to 4 dozen radishes from one bucket. Beyond eating them raw, roasted radishes are one of the most underrated vegetables you can cook. When you roast a radish, it loses its sharpness and develops a mild, slightly sweet flavor similar to a turnip. Slice them, toss them in olive oil, roast at 425 degrees for 20 minutes. They become addictive. Also, don't throw away the radish greens. They're edible, slightly peppery, and excellent sautéed in butter with garlic. You're getting 2 vegetables from one plant. Grocery savings estimate, $30 to $50 across a full spring. Crop number 5, snap peas and snow peas. The most satisfying crop you will grow this spring. There is nothing, I want to be very clear here, there is nothing like eating a fresh snap pea directly off the vine. The crunch, the sweetness, the way it tastes like what vegetables are supposed to taste like before the grocery store processes everything out of them. Fresh snap peas at the store, when you can even find them, cost $4 to $6 per pound. But fresh peas have a brutally short shelf life. They start losing their sweetness within hours of picking. The peas in the store have already lost most of what makes them special. A bucket of peas gives you something the grocery store literally cannot give you. Peas eaten within minutes of harvest. Here's the bucket setup that works best. One 5-gallon bucket, a bamboo trellis, or even just 3 bamboo stakes tied at the top in a teepee formation. Plant 6 to 8 seeds around the edges of the bucket. The vines will climb the trellis. One bucket setup like this produces 3 to 4 pounds of fresh peas over a 6 to 8 week harvest window. The variety matters a lot for bucket growing. Look for bush varieties like Sugar and or Oregon Sugar Pod 2. They stay more compact than climbing varieties and don't need as tall a trellis. One thing most people don't know, peas are nitrogen fixers. They actually pull nitrogen from the air and deposit it in the soil through their root nodules. When your pea season ends and you pull the plants, leave the roots in the soil. They'll release that stored nitrogen and enrich the bucket for your next crop. Grocery savings estimate, $40 to $60 per season. Crop number 6, Swiss chard. The most beautiful crop in your bucket garden and the most overlooked. If you've never grown Swiss chard, you're about to become obsessed. Rainbow Swiss chard has stems in bright red, yellow, orange, hot pink, and white. Growing in a bucket on your balcony, it looks like something from a magazine. Visitors to your home will ask what it is. Children who normally refuse vegetables will want to try it just because of how it looks. But beyond the aesthetics, Swiss chard is one of the most productive crops you can put in a bucket. Here's what makes it extraordinary. It tolerates both cold and heat better than any other leafy green. It thrives in the cool of early spring, keeps producing through the heat of summer, and continues into the fall. One bucket of Swiss chard that you plant right now in March can still be feeding you in October. Use the cut and come again harvest method. Outer stalks first. Let the inner crown keep growing. A mature Swiss chard plant produces prolifically and continuously for months. At the grocery store, a small bunch of Swiss chard, which is really just 4 or 5 stalks, costs $3 to $4. From one bucket, you'll harvest that equivalent every week for months. Cooking tip: Swiss chard stems and leaves cook differently. Chop the stems and cook them first. Then add the leaves in the last few minutes. The stems are delicious stir-fried. The leaves are like spinach, best quickly wilted with garlic and olive oil. Grocery savings estimate, $60 to $80 per season. Before we move to next part 1, want to be honest with you about something. This is just the beginning of what's possible, because there's a question I get asked more than any other on this channel, and it goes something like this. Okay, I've done the bucket garden. I love it. Now how do I go further? How do I grow more of my own food? How do I actually stop depending on a grocery store? Not just reduce my bill, but genuinely take control of my family's food supply? That question is exactly what led me to the Homesteaders Handbook. It was created by Timmy and Amber Bradshaw, a real couple who went from standing in a food bank line a few years ago to completely eliminating their grocery dependency. And they documented every single step of how they did it. What's in the Homesteaders Handbook goes far beyond what I can cover in a single video. It covers how to grow food year-round, not just spring and summer. How to preserve your harvest through canning, fermenting, and freezing so nothing goes to waste. How to build a full food system even from a small apartment or urban space. How to grow crops that most gardeners overlook, the ones that produce the most nutrition per square foot. How to deal with pests organically. And critically, how to turn your garden surplus into income. There's even a 12-week homestead masterclass included, taught by legendary survivalist Richard Marshall, that covers everything from livestock to food storage to building complete self-sufficiency. The whole package, handbook plus all the bonuses, is $37. One time, no subscription, and it comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee. I'm going to put the link directly below this video. If you're watching and you feel like you want to go beyond buckets, like you want real food freedom in 2026, that handbook is the next step. And honestly, at $37, it costs less than 2 weeks of the grocery savings you'll make from just one of the crops I showed you today. The link is below. Check it out and see if it's right for you. This video is already very long, so I've divided it into 2 parts. If you're interested in watching part 2, just comment part 2 and I'll upload it immediately.